Usually, beating a game for me is a bittersweet moment. On the one hand, it's nice to get a satisfying conclusion after investing possibly dozens of hours of my time into this thing that I love. But on the other hand, there's a tinge of sadness because it's a goodbye to not just a playthrough, but all the memories made along the way. This tends to especially happen to me in the games with happy endings. The ones where everyone I'm leaving behind are bound to go on and live their lives and do great things, while I'm forced to snap back into reality and cope with the fact I'll never get to see what those adventures are. At least I can make my peace with things, knowing that I left the world in a better state than the way I found it. But then there are the games where I can't. Some games, I find myself at the doors of the credits, looking back over my shoulder at the gnarled world of carnage I left in my wake getting there, and have to wonder if my meddling did more harm than good. That's when I scratch my head and have to ask if I was the hero or the villain all along. In some stories, you happen to be in the right place at the right time to help someone, but in others, you come crashing into their lives and ruin them. So today, I want to look at the stories that were better off without me in them. The ones where me trying to help just made things worse. The games where if you asked me by the end what I should have done, I'd tell you as little as possible. Chinatown is a 1974 neo-noir film that uses the genre to cleverly manipulate audiences' expectations. Jack Nicholson's Jake Gittes is a private investigator trying to uncover the mystery surrounding a water crisis in 1930s Los Angeles.
This business requires a certain amount of finesse.
The film is clever because it gives Jake, and by proxy the audience, all the pieces needed to solve this crime right from the opening act, but without a clue of how they all fit together. In an attempt to find closure by uncovering the meaning of it all, Jake unwittingly does more harm than good to the people whose lives are involved. Unfortunately, his hunger for the truth pushes him to keep digging deeper. This reminds me of my first playthrough of Shadow of the Colossus, where as the player, I felt like just as much of an interloper as Jake Gittes. The beginning of the game gives us very little context about what we're doing in this world. Long, sweeping shots are coupled with a mysterious score to offer more intrigue than answers about what the heck our protagonist and his horse are doing here. By the time the duo crosses the bridge and uncover the sheet from the woman they've been carrying, the game has more or less already started.
You two, I was ready.
We ask for a favor, and in exchange we're told to go out and kill 16 Colossi. Whether or not that's a good or bad thing, we won't find out until we go and do the deed. It's just ambiguous enough to let us comfortably draw our own conclusions on the matter, although it always bothered me how little time was spent on the ominous delivery of
"What price you pay may be heavy indeed."
It's clear this girl is of some importance to our protagonist, and whatever his reasons, he's willing to do anything to help her. Despite not knowing what the cost of this deal is, it seems worth it if we can bring her soul back. But who is our protagonist? Other than the fact that he has a sword and rides a horse, we don't know much about him, not even his name. We can see the tenderness in how he treats the girl, and infer that she has some importance to him, but beyond that, it's all left up to interpretation. Her affliction is just as much a mystery as her relationship to our main character, something even my girlfriend was scratching her head about the first time she played.
Okay, so is this a sister? A lover? Someone who owes us money?
All we have to work with is the cryptic instructions offered by Dorman, that voice from above. Slaying a dozen and some change monsters seems like a small price to pay for a loved one's life. But then again, whoever said we were slaying monsters? In a similar sense, Gittes' case begins with simple instructions from the wife of the chief engineer at the water department. She's suspicious that her husband, Hollis Mulray, has been cheating on her and asks Jake to find evidence of his infidelity.
Do you know the expression, "Let sleeping dogs lie"? You're better off not knowing.
I have to know.
Very well.
With those simple instructions, Jake does what he does best and starts gathering photos. He shadows Mulray and shoots several pictures of him with a mysterious woman. Jake is satisfied with what he finds and leaks the photos to the local newspaper. Everything seems like a job well done until the real Mrs. Mulray pays him a visit.
Jesus! That Barney!
See, I'm Mrs. Evelyn Mulray. You know Mr. Mulray's wife?
And suddenly, it becomes clear that this water crisis runs a lot deeper than the reservoir.
Well, frankly, there have been some threats to blow up the city reservoirs.
Any particular reason?
Well, it's this darn drought of hydration water in the valley, and the farmers are desperate.
Unfortunately for Jake, if he wants to figure out who duped him and why, he's gonna need to beg for an apology from Hollis Mulray, who turned out to not be such a bad guy at all.
Mr. Mulray,
He's not in, Mr.
Giddis.
May I ask what this is regarding?
Except, there's one slight problem, being that this case just got colossal.
I'd like to talk to him.
You'd like to talk to him. You're welcome to try. There he is.
The Colossi may appear frightening because they are large, but you'd be surprised how many of them ignore you until they get provoked. In a lot of encounters, it's you that picks a fight with them, and they simply defend themselves.
I just got stepped on. Oh, but it worked. It worked. Okay, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up.
Not to say that they're all peaceful, friendly giants. They all will kill you if you let them. But even still, many could crush you with the swat of their hand, but opt to try and just shake you off instead.
He is not happy with me.
This place is called the Forbidden Lands. That's all we know about it as a player. Even still, you get the sense from looking around, this place has been left untouched for hundreds, if not thousands of years. The Colossi are all roaming around as they have been for centuries, undisturbed by the meddlings of man. That is until you came along and started cutting the horizon with the beams of light from their fellow felled Colossi. I've always assumed that's why the latter giants are more aggressive upon seeing you than the earlier ones. I think everyone who plays this game goes through a revelation of sorts. I experienced it years ago, and I witnessed Taryn undergo the exact same thing on her own maiden voyage. Everyone who plays this game, without fail, goes from feeling triumphant for slaying a Colossus to feeling a bit guilty.
Oh, that's sad. It's kind of a... Like, why am I killing these things? Like, why is it having me kill them? I know it's to save her, but what's their motive?
Each and every single one of their deaths plays out the same way. Somber music as the once magnificent creature slowly topples to the ground. The aftermath of your battle is not celebrated with flashiness, but with gloom. Are we a champion or a tyrant for slaying Goliath? The only way to find an answer is to continue killing, but at the risk of losing yourself along the way.
Aggro! Meet me at the cathedral!
Whatever dark fog was leaking from the wounds you made in the golem's body finds a new home inside of yours, and that's when everything goes dark. Saying that your first playthrough of The Last of Us is an emotional roller coaster might just be the biggest understatement of the century.
Bunny! Oh my god!
With that being said, the experience of Ellie and Joel's journey is unforgettable, and if you haven't taken that journey for yourself, then you're severely missing out.
This is so cool!
Joel begins this journey waking up from the nightmare of losing his daughter 20 years ago during the initial outbreak of the cordyceps infection. The apocalypse has hardened him ever since the loss of his daughter, and he keeps himself walled off as a defense mechanism.
Cute.
It isn't until he meets Ellie and starts traveling with her that we see his rough exterior slowly start to crack. Ellie is immune to the disease and may hold the key to creating a vaccine for it. No one is sure why that is, but that's why we need to get her to someone who can figure it out.
Whatever happened to me is the key to finding a vaccine.
Oh, Jesus.
It's what she said.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Hey, fuck you, man. I didn't ask for this.
Me neither. Tess, what the hell are we doing here?
Joel is begrudgingly tasked with getting her across the country to a paramilitary group called the Fireflies, who've been researching a cure. Ideally, bringing Ellie to them will help save the world.
This was 3 weeks. I was bitten an hour ago, and it's already worse. This is fucking real, Joel.
Jake Giddys is yet another protagonist who's stuck holding on to demons from his past. As a viewer, learning more about the Mulray case is consequently learning more about Giddys. Trauma from his time as a cop still haunts him, and he still remembers the faces of the people he couldn't save.
I was trying to keep someone from being hurt. I ended up making sure that she was hurt.
That's why, in recent years, his PI work has taken place from the safety of being behind a camera. Much like Joel, it isn't until an outside force, in this case Evelyn Mulray, comes along to crack his hotshot PI facade that he wears on his exterior.
If this is how you go about your work, I'd say you'd be lucky to get through a whole day.
Actually, this hasn't happened to me for a long time.
What this reveals is that deep down inside, he wants to believe that there is justice in the world, and that's what motivates him.
In Chinatown.
What were you doing there?
Working for the district attorney.
Doing what?
As little as possible.
The district attorney gives his men advice like that?
They do in Chinatown.
Joel is by no means a knight in shining armor. He's had to make some tough decisions to stay alive in this harsh world.
Guess what? We're shitty people, Joel. It's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
That being said, that caring fatherly side of him is still in there, and it takes an entire game to slowly bring it back out.
I'm good.
The father-daughter relationship that develops between the duo on their journey lies at the heart of the game's story.
Are you okay?
No! You scared the shit out
Of course she's not okay. It's a stupid question, but I know that you just care.
It's for this reason that The Last of Us is able to take advantage of their relationship and tug on our heartstrings with it. Perhaps the most memorable moment of the entire game is the ending, where we're faced with a gut-wrenching revelation.
She's being prepped for surgery.
Excuse me?
The hell you mean surgery?
The doctors tell me the cordyceps, the growth inside her, has somehow mutated. It's why she's immune. Once they remove it, they'll be able to reverse engineer a vaccine.
But it grows all over the brain.
It does.
Ellie has finally been brought to the Fireflies, but in order to create a cure, we learn that her life will be lost during the procedure.
Find someone else.
There is no one else.
Listen, you were gonna show me where.
Unwilling to lose another daughter, Joel turns on the Fireflies and opens fire on them.
I said keep walking.
Damn!
Where's the operating room? I ain't got time for this. Where?
The entire game we've been honing our skills fighting bandits and the clickers, but in this moment we switch to mowing down not just armed guards, but doctors and nurses too. Joel forces his way into the operating room and guns down the head surgeon, rescuing Ellie, but seemingly disposing of humanity's last hope of developing a cure in the process.
Let me go. Please.
You just come after her.
In the aftermath of the carnage, Joel lies to Ellie about what happened with the Fireflies on our behalf.
Swear to me that everything that you've said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
And she seems willing to accept his answer.
Okay.
We may have doomed the world back at that hospital, but after everything we've been through together, it was worth it to save Ellie. With no hope for a cure, Joel has done irreparable damage to the world. But we as players can sleep soundly at night, knowing that at the very least, the two people we grew attached to are going to be okay. At least for now. Joel's protective urge doesn't seem to have any dark consequences yet. Baldur's Gate 3 is no stranger to these urges. In character creation, there exists a special backstory literally called the Dark Urge.
My rancid blood whispers to me, kill, kill, and kill again.
By choosing this background, your character is tagged with the Haunted One trait, and will find themselves face to face with their darkest urges many times throughout a playthrough.
Body feels aroused, imagining a broken, twisted neck. And a thrill thinking of a trailing intestine.
When confronted with a moral dilemma, to choose the high road, you'll need to succeed a dice roll against your inner darkness. Failing these rolls is failing to resist the urge, and consequently committing some heinous acts in the process.
This branch of flesh is begging to be pruned, and its sap sucked from.
Mistress eyelids, stop! Cease, you loon!
But there's another urge in Baldur's Gate 3, one that you won't find anywhere in character creation. At some point on your second, third, or maybe even your 15th run of the game, you'll have to contend with it in one form or another. In our playthroughs, we sometimes call it the overkill urge. This was a lot more peaceful before we decided to roll up and interlope. After enough visits to the Sword Coast, the world and the people living in it stop feeling consequential. You start stealing and murdering your way to all the best items and equipment you want without any remorse. Okay, well. Man's the best friend. If some random NPC gets caught in the crossfire, then it's just collateral damage in the noble pursuit of saving the world. Honestly, it's kind of their fault for being made of experience points in the first place. Yeah, it's not like we massacred an entire camp and looted the corpses. We haven't taken up cannibalism, right? Right? But there is a danger to thinking this way. When you're willing to crash your way through any obstacle between you and your goal, you risk becoming the real villain of the story. You tell yourself that there's some utilitarian justification for your actions.
I want to know how it happened, and I want to know why, and I want to know before Escobar gets here, because I don't want to lose my license.
But the reality is, you're still hurting people who don't deserve it.
Understand? Or is it too tough for you?
The name Chinatown comes from Jake's time as a cop working under the district attorney. When asked what he did back then, his answer is always,
as little as possible.
In 1930 LA, officers struggled to enforce the law in that part of town because they didn't speak the language or know the culture. The police would show up for a call-in, but couldn't tell who was innocent and who was guilty. They felt like they were being misled and manipulated because they couldn't understand, much like what happens to Jake through the entire film.
You may think you know what you're dealing with, but believe me, you don't. Why is that funny?
It's what the district attorney used to tell me in Chinatown.
So the term as little as possible is a not so friendly reminder from the DA that getting too involved only gets people hurt.
I just want a minute alone with her. It'd mean a lot to her. And to me.
You never learn, do you, Jake?
In a lot of RPGs, it sometimes feels like the world is built with the protagonist in mind. Items are made collectible so that we can loot them. Boxes are made breakable for us to smash them. And in a darker sense, things can die so that we can kill them. I've never walked into a house and looted an item in a game and felt guilty about stealing from the people who lived there. The only time I remember ever getting into any kind of trouble for smashing someone's furniture was that one old man in Wind Waker. Killing NPCs falls somewhere in this moral gray area, too. Most games don't give you the freedom to just murder any character that looks at you the wrong way, but it's the ones that do where the people feel the most real.
Right now, we're more concerned with not getting caught than the fact that we just murdered a woman. In cold blood.
In Baldur's Gate 3, so many of the people you talk to have dreams and aspirations beyond their encounter with you, but all it takes is a bad cast of the die, and you'll be the one to put an end to it. How quickly a player's sense of decency crumbles once they know the game inside and out. When you know that the woman who dreams of joining a guild in Baldur's Gate has some extra potions and a new staff on her, we're quick to hand her a different kind of rejection letter. The metamorphosis into a murder hobo, as some might call it, is a slow and gradual change. But when the NPCs start to weigh less than the gold in your pocket, you might notice you're deteriorating just as much as the Wanderer does. And wish you luck in finding one more compatible with your own particular priorities. No one said we were the good guys. Souls that are once lost cannot be reclaimed. That's the law of mortals. But one could argue, we already broke the law by trespassing into the Forbidden Land. I've often wondered if we're playing the bad guy in Shadow of the Colossus. I want to think that Wander has righteous intentions, but some of his actions paint him in a bad light. Aside from his sword theft and potential grave robbing, he seems like a pretty reasonable guy at the beginning of the game. And yet, his willingness to wipe out the only living things that inhabit this land seems a little too righteous. It's an uncomfortable thought that we shouldn't have gotten involved, but since we did, we may as well finish the job. That line of thinking is exactly what motivates Jake Giddies. For better or for worse, he got mixed up in the water scandal, something far greater than him, and now he's determined to see it through.
It's nothing personal, Mrs. Mulray.
It's very personal. It couldn't be more personal. Business or an obsession with you.
The uncomfortable implication being that much like Wander's quest to slay the Colossi, we don't entirely know what seeing things through means. There are plenty of people who want to keep the veil lowered on what's really going on, and that makes this a dangerous job for Jake. Part of why he retired as a cop and switched to being a PI was because he liked this style of guerrilla justice. But sometimes that means getting bit in the nose.
You're a very nosy fellow, kitty cat, huh? You know what happens to nosy fellows? Huh? No? Wanna guess? Huh? No? Okay. They lose their noses.
I guess it's no surprise someone with so little value for his own life wouldn't feel anything for the ones he's hurting along the way. It's hard to determine whether it's the sunk cost fallacy or just plain curiosity that pushes us to keep digging when we're clearly at risk. But regardless, we still crave answers. We are not privy to what happens between the moment a Colossus is slain and our return to the temple, at least not until the end. The only hint we get that our return journey might be an unpleasant one is the subtle changes in the Wanderer. His skin gradually loses its color, and his hair slowly changes from brown to black. His outward appearance is a subtle nod to how what he's willing to do to get the girl's soul back may not be such a good thing after all. And yet we keep playing. We keep playing until we complete our task and have to finally face the music. Upon slaying the final Colossus, Wander is fully corrupted by the darkness he's absorbed and is deemed possessed by the dead. Dorman intends to use him as a vessel, but not before Lord Aemon and his crew are able to take back the sword and seal him away again. The unfortunate consequences of Wander's actions are that he too gets sealed away in the Shrine of Worship. Chinatown ends with Jake paying a high cost as well. He solves the case, but loses pretty much everything else. The film's ending is considered one of the darkest in cinema, as the villain ends up getting everything he wanted without consequence.
Why are you doing it? How much better can you eat? What can you buy that you can't already afford?
The future, Mr. Gitz. The future.
This is particularly hard on Jake because although he finishes the film more or less the same spot he was in at the start, he has the burden of finding his answers, but failing to find justice anywhere along the way. His final line is an acknowledgement that the more you try and help a situation, sometimes it only makes things worse.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
As Aemon and the guards leave, the bridge into the lands crumbles behind them, sealing things off for good, never to allow another interloper to meddle in these lands again. The silver lining being that Dorman upholds his part of the promise, and the girl on the table is resurrected. But with no bridge to leave, it's difficult to assume what happens next. All in all, it's a pretty bummer ending for our main protagonist, but one has to ask themselves if this isn't exactly what we wanted. By the end, were we slaying Colossi to get the girl back, or to see what would happen when we killed all 16? The ending to Shadow of the Colossus is left just as ambiguous as the beginning, but one thing is certain. Thanks to us, there are 16 less Colossi in the world. The implications of Joel's massacre of the Fireflies was largely left up to interpretation in the years following the game's release. For the player, it's all too easy to brush off the severity of what they helped Joel do.
Just take it easy. Drugs are still wearing off.
We were along for that journey with Joel and Ellie, so we've seen firsthand the state of the world and how badly a cure is needed. Nonetheless, we don't have to deal with the repercussions once the credits roll.
There's so much to think about. Holy shit.
Earlier I mentioned how the hardest part of finishing a good game is having to say goodbye to these characters you've grown so attached to, wondering about all the adventures they'll go on without you after the curtains close.
Because the thing I was noticing, I'm like, he is a lot more talkative now on this little epilogue walk than he has been the entire game.
But sometimes you don't have to wonder. Sometimes you get blessed with a sequel to show you what everyone's been up to in the time since you last saw them. But be careful what you wish for.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
In 1990, seemingly out of left field, a follow-up film to Chinatown, The Two Jakes, released to theaters.
Friends call me Jake.
Well, that makes two of us. That's what my friends call me.
Is that right? Is that right? He's a Jake and I'm a Jake.
Yeah, how about that? Two Jakes.
14 years since the original's release, Two Jakes had a tumultuous production cycle. Several directors picked up and dropped the project before Jack Nicholson himself took over and eventually saw the project through to the finish line.
Ow, damn!
Upon initial reaction, though, audiences were disappointed with the follow-up, especially when compared to the major success of the first film. A common criticism was that it leaned too heavily on the fame of its predecessor and the audience's love for its main character.
All I recall is that your father shot an innocent woman while her little girl watched him do it.
Admittedly, Chinatown is a hard act to follow. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown 2. The Last of Us Part 2 released in June of 2020, 7 years after its predecessor. The game was met with, we'll call them polarizing reactions. In the eyes of the player, Joel's massacre was a righteous act to protect Ellie, but to the rest of the world, it was an incredibly selfish decision. The second game attempts to shed light on the implications of what he did.
What does Ellie know? I told her they just ran some tests.
So how does The Last of Us 2 open? Well, about 2 hours into the game, Joel and his brother Tommy rescue a girl from some infected and help her reunite with her group. Unfortunately, that's where Joel's luck runs out.
Like you heard of us or something.
Because they have.
The girl shoots him in the leg and knocks Tommy out. While restraining him to the walls, she brutally beats Joel with a 5-iron.
Why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed? Get this over with.
Joel never finds out who this girl is, because this is where his story ends.
You don't get to rush this.
The death of Joel was a moment where I regretted wishing for a sequel back in 2013. Back then, I felt like I had to know what happened next, but it never was something as brutal and gut-wrenching as this. I always imagined the fun stuff, like riding horses, playing the guitar, or finally teaching Ellie how to swim. That notion was just as idealistic as assuming the world would be fine, robbed of its chance for a vaccine.
This is our future. Think of all the lives we'll save.
It isn't until later in the game that we learn his murderer was the daughter of the Firefly surgeon he cut down in the operating room when rescuing Ellie. 4 years later, he pays the price for his decision from the first game.
Joel, please get up!
This was a tough pill to swallow for everyone involved, but especially the players. We waited 7 years to see Joel again, and to watch such a cruel end to such a beloved character didn't sit well for a long time.
I lied. I didn't need to see what happened next.
The Last of Us Part 2 is notorious because it gives us both sides of the story. You ricochet between playing as Ellie and Abby throughout the entire journey, with the intention of showing you the dangers of seeking revenge.
You should have given us a group to go after those fuckers.
I wish I could.
Whether or not a player can forgive Abby for what she does to Joel, it's through her eyes that we can see he was the villain of someone else's story. Our actions in the first game appeared righteous from our perspective, but Part 2 reveals the ripple effect of who we hurt collaterally. It's not to say that Joel is a villain. He's not a saint either, though. It's just an acknowledgement that the world we live in is full of gray areas. Looking back at the Dark Urge, there's no doubt in my mind he's a villain. It's as plain as day that when I start a dirge file, I'm going to be the bad guy.
What's better than a devil you don't know? A devil you do.
But what to make of the atrocities committed without any in-game nudging? Just my own urge to be overkill.
Stealing has caught someone's attention. What will you do?
You boys, want to make it back to Baldur's Gate. Leave no stone unturned, no chest locked, and no dialogue exhausted. If you engage with a world enough times, you can become desensitized to it. You're throwing all my best items. Taryn, stop. Tragically, when you love a game enough to explore every corner of it, you start to grow weary of the things that once impressed you. What is she doing? Oh, well, there goes my last void bulb. At least I won. Wow, the AI thought of something cool. My first playthrough of Baldur's Gate, I felt like a genuine hero. Someone invested in the lives of the other characters and companions. My first character was a paladin who found himself stuck with a decision between his oath and my principles. I chose my principles.
Your strength falters, and emptiness grows within you, Paladin.
And a new Oathbreaker was born.
You have broken your oath, Paladin. At the close of day, I will be waiting for you.
At the time, I stood by my decision because I did what I believed was right.
A noble sacrifice. To know the reason for your fall is perhaps to know the shape of things to come.
Even when offered a chance for redemption, I continued to walk the broken path, out of respect for the lives I'd taken.
Your oath no longer binds you. The choice is yours alone.
Nowadays, my oath is only worth as much as what its perks can add to my build. Who was once a defender of the helpless will sell them down by the river for a minor stat upgrade. Upon reflection, it's a little disappointing, but ironically, it stems from a deep love for the game. I guess we all get a little selfish about the things we love. The hunger for more, whether it's more story or bigger numbers, pushes us to dig deeper. You play it enough times over and over again that it boils down to being just a game. The carefully sculpted world and its people are hollowed out and lose their soul. Leaving a town behind in a merry state or burnt to the ground makes no difference after an act break. You'll never see it again anyways, so who cares?
You're like, come save us, and you're like, I don't think so.
Like, Baldur's Gate is under new management, Taryn. Player apathy is the side effect of retreading the same ground over and over again. When you access a new area, head straight to the quest giver, only to let them know you've already collected their cargo and are here to return it and collect your reward. You gotta imagine the NPCs are standing there scratching their heads.
You're a goddamn wonder. Here's your coin.
At least they are until you turn around and kick them off the edge of a cliff, followed by a lit match. This scorched earth approach to playing the game doesn't come from malice, it's purely indifference. Apparently there were plans to have Chinatown be a trilogy. Unfortunately, we never got that ending, as the two Jakes performed so poorly at the box office that the momentum from the first film had all but run out. The energy surrounding Jake Gittes had died down, and people no longer cared to know what happened to him next. A once captivating character was left out to dry on the beach.
Well, that's it.
Consider how you once connected with these characters, maybe even loved them on a deeper level.
I'd be stuck in a pod, or worse, if it wasn't for you.
If you've romanced one, I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume you've done it more than once. Maybe even a few different times, in a few different ways, so you could see each and every way that their story can play out. What do you do after you've seen them all, though? You can only pull Shadowheart out of that pod so many times before it starts feeling like just another Tuesday. Heartbreakingly, you may even get to the point where you no longer care what happens to her. So much so that you run right past and leave her alone and unconscious to fend for herself on the beach. There are games where you save the world, and then there are games where the world needs saving from you. They say history is written by the victors, and that gives the person with the controller all the power in the world. Oh! Let's go! That's our boy Caspian. Whether for selfish means or with the best intentions, sometimes you're just a bull in Chinatown. China shop. God. In his story, Jake wanted to avoid the red tape, but ended up tripping through it instead. Wander sought to break the laws of mortals, but couldn't have gotten back his damsel without our help. I only wish he was around to see her for himself. On the other hand, Joel refused to lose another daughter and paid a heavy price after we helped him wipe out the Fireflies. But it was worth it for 4 more years with Ellie, even if we didn't get to spend it with them. Perhaps nothing is more telling about a Baldur's Gate playthrough than making it all the way to the High Hall at the end of the game and having no one in it.
Thou art alone, but for thy friends. Didst thou not make allies?
If you're a good guy, then all the people you helped will be there. If you're a bad guy, then ironically all the villains show up to return the favor. When the hall is completely empty, the echoes of an overkill journey are all that's there to fill the walls. Gather your allies. It's like, yeah, about that. I don't regret playing any of these games. I'm just sorry for the people left in them after I'm gone. I had an amazing experience, but at the cost of quite a mess. Hopefully, they have to pick up as little as possible.
I'd like to extend a huge thank you to our channel members and patrons. We've gotten a ton of new supporters and look forward to meeting some new faces during this month's supporter event. If you're interested, there's still time to join before the August event takes place. An extra special thank you goes out to our 6 wheels: Daniel Rogers, Gizmo, Isaac Vogan, David Webb, Mace, Albino the Infernape, Grey Sleepy, Prov Skites, Shameboy1888, and Cerberus. If you made it this far, consider following us over on Twitch. We're live with every video release and would love to hear what you thought of the video. On that note, I've got some games to play, so we'll see you next time.